The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Every day, citizens around the country are faced with new dilemmas. Dilemmas that affect them profoundly. Whether it's injustice, discrimination, falling through the cracks, scandals and cronyism, balances of power, ethics, religious freedoms, state versus citizens, and unfunded mandates, and the list goes on and on and on. Welcome to Speak Up. It's directed at those who have fallen through the cracks, and it gives them a voice. It's your turn to speak up, to stand up and fight back.
Welcome to this episode of Speak Up. I'm Kevin Avard, your host, and today we're going to be talking about procedures in the House. You know, not too long ago, I think many of you remember how that Nancy Pelosi said, you got to vote for the bill to find out what's in it. Well, you know, when things get passed and they don't go before committees and they don't go before the people, that invites corruption. Today, I have Representative Al Baldasaro and Representative Jeanine Notter. Al, you're from Derry. And
I'm from Londonderry.
Londonderry, and Jeanine, you're from the Merrimack area. And I want to welcome you to the show.
Kevin, it's an
I appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely.
And
thank you. Nice place you got here.
yeah, it's nice and blue, right?
Right.
We have a green screen. So, you know, something that's current right now that's happening that's similar to what happened with Nancy Pelosi and the Obamacare or the ACA or whatever you want to call it these days. It was shoved down the people's throat and they didn't know what was going on. And now we're starting to feel the pain. They're delaying the pain, but the pain's coming. In New Hampshire, we have something similar going on with the Medicaid expansion. You know, it all on the surface seems to be a nice philanthropic thing to do, to give other people your tax dollars to expand Medicaid. But nobody's looking at what's in the bill. Nobody's looking at anything.
Kevin, did you know that to go on Medicaid, it's like a loan? We have a mutual friend, Representative Dan Itza. He got up at the well and was speaking about it. Now, in his family, they had to go on Medicaid. They had to sign over their house as collateral to pay back the loan.
That I did not know.
And who knows that? And how many people know that?
Well, keep in mind now, of course, that law has been in since 1965, okay, or somewhere around there when Medicaid first originated. Mm-hmm. So it's a law that just went over into the Medicaid expansion. But the Medicaid as it is today is for real low-income people. Right. The Medicaid expansion is for 133% or 143 of poverty. So many of those people own their own homes. A lot of them are going to be shocked when they find out as they move down the road, they're not going to be able to leave their house to their children or anything else.
And they don't look at your assets.
Now, how come the public doesn't know this?
Because they're not telling them. The Democrats are keeping it quiet. We call them out onto the floor. I went up and asked a question. And then another area there they don't know about is the Obamacare, the ACA, had put in a fine. But they messed up. They only put the fine in if you have a state exchange.
And we don't have one, right?
We don't have one yet.
Well, they're trying
now,
to repeal
the Democrats just passed in the House, and we'll get into that bogus amendment. But anyways, they passed Medicaid expansion. Now, in there, we even asked them again, if New Hampshire residents, young people, don't want to get on insurance, will they be fined? They're going to have to be fined. I don't know if it's from 95, 100 or more.
Or 1% of your income.
1% of your income there, you know, so depending where they're at, they're going to get fined because of our Democrats in the State House.
Now, I understand that Senator Peggy Gilmore is actually, she's happy about this expansion. Yet,
she's a Democrat.
She's a Democrat.
She's a Democrat, right?
Yeah, and on her website, I did a little investigating.
Did you?
But it seems as though she's for this, but you know, people don't realize, again, the mortgages are going to be attached to this.
That's right.
How are they going to collect it if they don't pay?
Well, when you die, they're going to tax your estate.
And then I heard, okay, let's say you only used $5,000 of Medicaid. Well, they'll sell your house and take out the $5,000, and then the rest your family can have. Well, they don't care about you. What if they sell your house for $5,000?
Right, they auction it off.
You get nothing. They don't care. What's it to them?
But see, most people don't know this. And the Democrats are trying to sell the people, they're basically between low middle class, low income, and trying to sell them a product that it's the best thing since peanut butter, but they're not being honest. These people will not be able to leave their children, not a home, nothing.
Why don't we grow jobs here in New Hampshire instead of expanding the Medicaid? Why don't we say, hey, look, come to New Hampshire, we're going to lower our tax base, build your industries here, build your businesses here, and we can grow the revenue that way. Instead, it seems as though everybody's, oh, well, we're going to extend this, and we're going to extend that, and we're going to extend this, and it's almost like you're funding poverty.
The Medicaid expansion does not include assets. I don't know if you heard me say that before. So let's say somebody had their money in stocks or whatever, and they made lots of money, they have lots of money, they're living off their money, but they currently don't have an income.
Right.
Well, they'll qualify for Medicaid, so they can get their picture taken with a glass of champagne next to their yacht and say, thank you, New Hampshire taxpayers. I have free Medicaid.
We had a guest on here. She actually worked for the Health and Human Services at one point, and she wrote a book on ripping off the face of Medicaid. And the amount of fraud that's going on.
Right.
Is there anything in the bill that says anything about fixing the problem with fraud and waste? It's a huge industry.
We have fraud and waste in welfare too, and they don't call it welfare
Why
anymore.
would we expand something that without fixing it first?
Well, because it's a way of controlling, getting big government involved in your life. Once you enter into the system, you'll very seldom ever get out of it. You're going to be in poverty the rest of your life, and then what's a shame is generation after generation continue in that area. And me and myself, I want to be able to leave my house to my children.
Right.
I'm going to stay away from this here.
So this whole idea of it passing without procedure, can you talk a little bit about that? How is that happening?
If you want, let me start for you, bring you first where it initiated from. The governor called for a special session to push through Medicaid expansion.
That was November.
That was in November. We met. There was an amendment that we wanted to read. They wouldn't let us read the amendment. Okay? We had a vote to pass Medicaid expansion without even seeing everything that went.
Did anybody scream? Anybody holler?
We did. We went up there and they said, well, you're going to see the amendment tomorrow. You're going to see it tomorrow. Okay? None of us, well, all the Republicans voted against it. The Democrats and say you're in charge, and they voted to support it. And the Senate, of course, after all the process was done, it killed it.
Did any Democrats vote against it?
I don't know.
I don't believe so.
I think there might have been one or two. I may, may be wrong. I'm not sure. But then we go into the next session here in January, and all of a sudden, the Medicaid, there's a bill. I mean, you can talk when I'll look up the bill here real quick and what happened.
Well, we were talking about procedure. There was another issue that happened during our session last week. We were voting on, we were hearing the floor arguments for House Bill 435, which was relative to funding for the chartered public schools. And I'm a big supporter of the charter schools. I think they're wonderful. So when somebody asks for a roll call vote, that means that your name is attached to it. 10 people have to second the motion for a roll call.
Right.
Well, the speeches were going on, and one more person from the left got up to speak. I went, I just need a break. So I got up and I went to the back, just, ready. And I wanted to make sure that I was one of those 10 people to stand up to second the motion for the roll call. So I got up to see how things were going, and they wouldn't let me in. I said, what do you mean, what's going on? They're voting. I said, no, they're not. They can't be voting. You didn't call roll call. So it was a new guard. Maybe he's new to.
It wasn't Walter.
It wasn't
No,
Walter.
Walter
It was
was
some
down
other
the
man.
front,
I don't
right.
think I've ever seen him before. I said, go tell them. Go tell them. You
Usually
didn't
you hear
announce it.
roll call, roll call.
Nothing.
So if you're in the bathroom,
Al was sitting
Well,
back there. I went and got him. I
yeah.
said, hey, they're voting. They're voting on this.
So naturally, I went in, pushed the door open. They were already voted there. It was already done. So I started walking down towards the acting speaker. And she was a real bully. She kept saying, take your seat, take your seat. I refused to take my seat. I was walking down there. I was going to make a motion here to reconsider this vote. And then a Democrat, because there was another guy out there.
Yeah, there was three for one side, 10 for this. There was 13.
So he was out there, and he went up to made him a motion to reconsider the bill. But matter of fact, the speaker's chief of staff called me, wants to see me tomorrow morning. I hope they're not going to talk to me about my comment, because I walked down there and said, this is a bunch of BS. My constituents sent me here to vote.
Well, they made this whole thing about Speaker O'Brien being a bully. I've never seen him do anything like that,
Me neither,
ever.
never.
As a matter of fact, can I just put this out there I can remember, and I had it on my little camera. there were times where there was going to be a vote, and I remember watching a representative at the time, Norelli, going up and down the aisles, motioning to all the sheep, and I'm going to say that, they were sheep.
Right.
Nobody could get up, and they were all told to sit down, and you don't want to cross this speaker because you'll get in a lot of trouble.
Well, I cross her. The people of my district and we sent me there, and just like I said, this is BS.
So we
the
didn't
people
get to
sent me here to vote.
on the first time. There was 2 votes for the funding of the charter schools. There were 2 votes. The first one is missing 13 votes because not only was roll call not called into the ante room where we were sitting, she did not. The speaker, whoever was filling in for speaker, did not ask for that second.
Do you know, in my opinion, I think they were trying to pull a fast one because they weren't sure whether they had the vote to, because it was a funding bill for charter schools.
Now, this is on film, by the way.
This is on film. You can watch this
Yeah.
here.
Oh, yes, because on the Honorable Tammy Simmons, she was listening from home. She heard us. She heard us walk in and say, we can get to vote.
But anyways, that bill there was a funding bill for charter school. And what happened, it was supposed to have been killed, the funding for that. And one of the Democrats was not there at the hearing, so she wanted to vote, and it would have turned the vote around in committee and passed the funding of 50% of the funding for charter schools. So what happened is it didn't go their way. They were trying to rush it through. They probably seen us. There was a bunch of us out in the back, and they'd be able to, kill the bill.
That's corrupt.
But it blew up. It is corrupt. That's right. It's unsat what went on. Okay. Now, if it wasn't for that Democrat, what happened at first, the vote when it happened, it overturned. They couldn't pass the ITL bill, the killing the bill.
Right, so the vote was on the ITL, inexpedient to legislate, and the vote without us was 129 to 156.
Right.
So
they were shocked.
So then we got to vote again with the second vote because of the nice Democrat that asked for reconsideration.
Who was that nice Democrat?
I don't know.
I don't know what his name
Somebody in
is.
Section 3. But,
You're familiar with this book, right?
Yes.
This is the Masons rules.
Yep.
This is what we comply with.
That's what Karen's up there to enforce.
That's right, at the State House. These are the rules of the House. I even brought this in here because on amendment we'll talk about. These are the rules that we comply with, that we vote on the first day of the session in January. Well, we have bullies up there that don't want to go by that. Well, do as I say, not as I do.
Right.
And that was the aggravation over that vote on the, not letting us to vote, but which we finally did after reconsideration vote. Then they try to stop the parliamentary inquiries. Oh, you already did them in the last one. Representative Valancourt got up and said, oh, no, this is a new, we've already voted to reconsider.
No, this was for the charter school bill. Right, because we didn't get to hear the parliamentary inquiry. Like if you believe as I believe, this and this and this, then you'll vote this way.
Vote this way.
So the second vote around, say, was 132 to 169.
Right. So that's what happened there.
And then it passed, and because that vote was on inexpedient to legislate, it was 132 to 169, so the motion failed. So the next motion that was made was for ought to pass, and that came out, it's 177 to 1, I don't have my glasses on, but I think that's 124.
Is it right here?
Speaker O'Brien never, ever did this, never played with the process, the rules, or anything like the Democrats have done. That was unsat. Okay, and the same thing will go back now to Medicaid Expansion.
They just dragged him through the mud.
Did the media pick up on this? Did they say anything?
Well, I turned around, I'm like, there were no cameras there. Maybe there was one.
I don't know, I haven't seen anything on it, because when we go back to Medicaid Expansion, the amendment. Under Rule 45 in our rules here,
do you want my glasses out?
no, I can see here. Amending bills, non-germane amendments, majority reports considered first. There's rules. No amendments shall be made until the second reading of a bill. Well, this reading here was unsat with the way they did it. The amendment from the governor's special session was changed, that they had all these hearings. They brought in a new amendment to a bill that was non-germane to the bill to add in to bring back the Medicaid expansion.
Could you imagine if O'Brien did that?
They would have
Could you
been
imagine?
all over the
It would have been in every newspaper,
would have been all
all
over
over.
the news.
It might even made national news.
We
that's
challenged
funny.
the speaker on it, and of course she has the final say. We challenged her votes on this here because the rules are cut and dry right here in black and white that we vote. And like I said, if there's a bully, there's the bullies there.
Now, what is our recourse with this?
There's no recourse because you can't go to court on it because the House has to take care of their own rules.
The recourse is-
the
And if we
Constitution.
violate our own rules, then what?
Then our only hope, then we have to file for ethics or, through the process there.
This is
But
unethical.
see, right, but they're in the majority. They're in the
Well,
majority.
do you remember
and-
the times when a lot of the Democrats got up and they protested and they turned their backs, or they would write a little,
Right.
they would write a little article that, you know, they're against something. It had to do with the budget or something to that effect. They all walked up and they
Right.
marched in line.
Yes.
They wrote their
They
name.
did
Yeah, I
that, they
remember
learned
that.
that from us.
All right. Is anybody going to do that?
Well, we haven't done that yet, but we will. We'll protest.
Well, we almost did
Yeah.
during the special session. We had our little papers
Yeah,
ready.
we did it in a special session, yes.
So now it's going to go to the Senate. What are your thoughts?
I'm hoping that the Senate will say no.
Will the Senate follow its rules?
Oh, the Senate will, right, but see, the Senate has different rules than the House.
Right.
The Senate can take up non-germane, amendments there, where the House is not supposed to take up non-germane.
Is this common practice under this
Oh,
administration?
this is unsat, some of the things they do. It's unsat. I mean, they stack the deck in the committees there, people.
Yeah.
On the Republicans there, if you're gonna be out for a week sick, they can replace you.
Right.
But you have to
But
tell them ahead of
You have to let
time.
them know ahead of time,
But do they follow the
But
same
they're not
rule?
following. If Democrats don't show up for a committee, they're stacking the deck, they're putting them in.
Well, in the this next election that's coming up, you know, they set the rules. Are they going to live by them?
I doubt it.
No, I mean, they set the rules. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I know what
They
you're
set the
saying.
rules.
Right.
Are they going to live by them? And you know what? We don't have to drop down to their level.
No.
But we don't have to listen to the crying either.
Well, no, we're not gonna. Matter of fact, we'll challenge them on the floor. We'll force a challenge to the speaker. We've been doing this. We've been using the parliamentary procedures, everything there, to make sure that we're in compliance. That house has been around since 1784. It has a reputation, of doing things proper.
Right.
When you start pushing the rules aside of the house, why are you even there?
Right.
You know, why?
It gets me angry because
Right.
every time I'm turning around, I'm seeing another veil of corruption. And I'm going to call it what it is. It's corruption.
It is.
If you're not going to follow the rules that you've all voted on, right? You all voted on these rules, did
That's
you?
right, yes.
Then
And they're
that's
in
the
these
will of the
books.
people. If they're not going to follow these rules, then they need to be replaced. It seems like if you look at the court system, if you look at the House now, it's driving me nuts that it's as though corruption is the rule of the day.
So you were in last term, the 162nd New Hampshire State Legislature.
Right.
All right. We had the supermajority. The Republicans had a supermajority, and the Democrats asked not to sit amongst the Republicans. They asked to be in their own little section.
Yes, I remember that.
So this term, we had hoped that for the same courtesy that we'd all get to sit together. We have to sit with them. So they're constantly behind me. I have to hear these old, they call themselves constitutionalists. They're a bunch of nut jobs.
It's
know what,
unsat
Dre-
the way it is now.
It's funny because we were separated, and then unfortunately, the representative Cox that sat next to me, he passed away, and Mr. Sullivan sat next to me.
Oh, him.
I'm going to say this on TV. I'm telling you, the swears, the foul language.
He tweets them. He makes fun of everybody.
He's
Like-
unsat.
He was, and I complained to the speaker, and he said, "Well, I'm not going to reward him by moving him."
Well, I have a friend who's a female who knows how to
He actually
push
knocked
his
over
buttons.
Linda, didn't
and
he?
Yes.
yes, he did. He stepped
Yeah.
on her foot. But my friend who's a female, she'll get near him and he'll, Madam Chair, she's bothering me. Call security.
It's
You know-
peevish. It's trivial, and it was unnecessary. It was unprofessional, and I was offended by the language that was coming out of there.
You know, Kevin, the speaker on the first day said that we want to have a house of civility.
Yep.
We want to work together.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you right now, it's been unsat.
one-sided.
Now, in our committee, because it's state and federal, we're on the same committee.
Right.
State and Federal Relations and Veterans Affairs.
Yep.
When I was the chairman, I worked hand in hand with the Democrats. We're fortunate to have chairman, he's a Democrat. Robert Taber is a good guy. We work hand in hand. I'm the senior Republican on the committee. But you got some other committees there that are just unsat the way the Republicans are treated. and-
Veterans Affairs, we're all,
Right, that's not
Republican and Democrat,
nonpartisan.
we're all
Right.
together.
We
We
gotta-
all
we
care for our
work hand in
veterans.
hand,
It's the state and federal
Right.
ones.
Well,
we're
it
part
seems
of
to me,
it.
though, that the Democrats have waged war against veterans, and I'm telling you why. I'm just listening to what's going on with Fox News today, and I'm not ashamed to tell you, I watch Fox News. I watch them all, but I mostly watch Fox. And they were talking about how that the President of the United States could, just by his executive order, take care of the veterans
That's right.
that have been wounded,
Yes.
that there were promises made to them. He won't do it.
Well, you know, I've been.
You don't hear Democrats yelling, "Hey, Mr. President, you need to sign that executive order to make sure that we fulfill our promises."
Well, you heard that I made
number one.
did a press conference there, and I said that I may be running again for Senate against Jeanine. And let me tell you why. Well, you just hit something right on the nose there. The last budget, Kelly Ayotte stood up for the veterans and the spending that was going on in that last budget that passed in the House and the Senate. She didn't vote for it. She tried to put amendments in to put we have disabled retired veterans out there.
Right.
No arms, no legs. I mean, I served 22 years active duty. I'm retired. I don't care if you stop my COLA. These guys get less paid than I do, less retirement than I do. They might have retired as a corporal, PFC.
Right.
They can't go to work. Why would you vote to cut their retirement or their COLA? It makes no sense. That Senator Jeanine did that.
But you can go on a $100 million vacation in Africa or Hawaii.
Several,
right,
several
yes. That's
vacations.
right.
How many vacations? How many servants does the current First Lady?
They're killing the
27.
morale of our country's military people, the people that have served, and are discouraging people that are serving right now.
Right.
And I don't know if it's intentional or not, but I'm telling you, the Democrats have got to stop waging war against our vets.
Yeah, it is. It's unsaid. I mean, like I said, these people, you know, that are serving in war. I mean, the things that we have to do to fight, even here in New Hampshire, most people don't know. I'm a veteran activist. I've been for many, many years. We don't even have a full-service hospital.
Yeah.
Okay, there was a bill I spoke in today here because what they want to do is they want to, if you have mental issues, let's say PTSD,
Right.
and you get put into a hospital to be treated. Now, not all PTSD people want to commit suicide or kill people.
Right.
Not,
They just struggle with depression
very,
and
very
things.
few.
Right.
Who
But you
doesn't?
could lose your gun rights. The bill that I spoke against today, that a Democrat senator brought in, 244, I think it is, Senate bill, we're going to have many veterans losing their gun rights.
So they won't be able to defend
They'll
themselves.
lose their Second
Yep.
Amendment rights. Then if you don't have, when you get out of this treatment and they figure you're good to go, then if you can put in there to get your name out of the NICS system, okay, you got to get a lawyer, you got to go to court.
Some people are trying 7 years to get benefits.
That's right.
Why is that happening?
It's crazy, the things that they're doing, because veterans are being used as political pawns.
Right.
Okay, when it always come around election, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But after the election, quietly behind the scenes, we're the ones that are getting cut.
Did Jean Shaheen stand up for the veterans?
No, not at all. She did after she says, oh, I'm going to file an amendment and try to get it put back.
Did she?
Why? No. Well, she might have. Kelly Ayotte is the only one I see up there that's
Well,
fighting.
her husband's in the military.
Right,
from
her
what I
husband's in the
understand.
military also.
Right. Well, and again, you know, they like to label the Republicans as war against women, but I'm telling you right now, that's a farce. The whole idea of them waging war against our vets really troubles me. My son works is in the honor guard. He actually, you know, runs the honor guard, and he takes his job seriously.
Right.
Even in their burial, they have a right to a military burial
right.
with honors because they served this great country. He takes it seriously, and it's a lifestyle for him. It's a lifestyle for a full-time Marine. These guys have got, or Navy, or you know, the whole branch is, they've got to be taken care of. These are our first line of defense.
You know,
and it's killing me. I'm sorry to keep interrupting
You
you,
know,
but it's
Kevin,
bugging me.
We have, no, I understand. Believe me, I'm in and out of the VA. I'm treated. I'm actually 80% disabled. But I have some medical issues.
That's it.
You know what I mean? But I did 22 years active. I retired, and then after a year and a half, I was in and out of the VA for Desert Storm issues and stuff. You know, but that's another story. But anyways, the promises that we're given is here, like for instance, PTSD. You know, we don't even have contract bed space in the state. We have to wait for Massachusetts or Maine for a bed to open up there to put somebody in there for in-house treatment.
Now, is that in our federal budget, or is that in the state?
That's the federal.
Okay.
Okay, the state, they're not treated through the state. They're treated through the federal government.
Why aren't we petitioning for that?
Well, the thing is because the state would have to pick up the cost when they're in the federal program, you know, and we have to wait through them because otherwise it'll cost a lot of money for these programs.
You know, I think, remember the Adjutant General came to our committee, I think it was last year, and we were talking about PTSD, and he said when you're talking to someone who's been diagnosed, try to leave the D off and just call it post-traumatic stress, because when they hear that disorder, it doesn't help them.
Right.
Right.
But
It hurts
the
them
bottom
more.
line
Syndrome
is,
or whatever you want to call it.
right. But many of them there, you know, that I'm around, we still know it to gain attention as PTSD.
Right.
I understand what the general's, you know, what he was saying, but there's a lot of us that are in the trenches, in the hospitals, in the shelters, you know, and meeting these veterans and stuff and talking with them, and so.
What's the deadline on this bill with the Medicaid expansion?
Well, it's over at the Senate now.
Yeah.
All right, and what is your gut feeling?
My gut feeling that if one senator folds, it could pass.
And what does that mean to the average citizen?
Broad-based tax, because how are we going to pay for it?
If you
Income
look at
tax,
it,
sales tax, and from
Right.
there it just keeps going up, 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 just
that's
like
an
what
empty
happened
pit.
in New Jersey.
you were a state rep, you understand how with No Child Left Behind, how it came a federal program, and there were unfunded mandates.
Yes.
Then all of a sudden, Race to the Top comes in from Obama, unfunded mandates. The taxpayers are picking up the cost because they want to run education
this
from
carrot.
the federal government. Here's the carrot.
And here's
Now,
the bill of
the same thing with Common Core.
Right.
Okay, unfunded mandates
Right.
on the taxpayer. Where we have states' rights here, we got to be able to say enough is enough. Local control will run education, not from the federal government.
That reminds me, we just had Anne-Marie Banfield on talking
Yeah.
about
Oh, she's
Common
Yeah,
wonderful.
Core.
I watched the segment. It's great.
What's interesting is that passed through a committee of 4. It never went through a House, it never went through a
Nope,
Senate, it never
nope.
went through the people.
There's a lot of things that have been bypassing the legislature
What
and the
people-
elected officials.
People have got to understand that the legislature is their voice.
That's right.
They're not the people to be raising your fist after. They're the voice. You're the voice of Merrimack. You know, if that voice goes away and it just goes through caveat, through executive order,
Right.
there's no representation, period. And that's what seems to be happening in our federal government. It's trickling down into our states. How do we stop this?
You know, I'll
Well,
tell you.
we don't have the mainstream media on our
Well,
side, so
Yeah,
shows like
what
yours.
we need to do, we need to keep kicking in the doors, and we need more and more people to be loud.
Right?
As you know, I'm not a politician. I go down to the well and I tell
and you're
them
not
like
loud
it is.
either.
Right.
Right, no, I'm not, because they complain that I'm intimidating to them.
Well, it's 'cause he's scary
Do
looking.
what you're supposed to do.
Right.
You know, the people send you up there to look out for them, not take food off their table, not take money out of their pocket, not be involved in their home life. And that's what they're doing.
Right. It's supposed to be live free or die
Right,
here.
that's
in New
right.
Hampshire.
And
We have a show now that we're taping in Londonderry called Who's Looking Out for You?
Oh. And that airs when?
we we have a show that goes all month long.
Right.
And then we're doing another show on the 24th. I think that's our 3rd or 4th show.
Right, because when we switched
I think
over,
it's played in Nashua. I think you guys might be picking it up.
Oh, well, welcome.
Yeah.
because it's
so-
kind of a spin-off from Chatting with Jeanine, which was started in Merrimack in
Merrimack.
2006. And
Oh.
then that kind of branched out across the river a couple of summers in a row. I did a special short series, Chatting Politically with Jeanine, and then WSMN. There was a radio show for a while.
Right.
Now, what I didn't tell you, you know, also with that whole episode there, when I walked down and I said, this is a bunch of BS, I said, the people of my district sent me in. Some of the Democrats looked at me. Well, I got a phone call today from the chief of staff of the speaker's office. They want to see me tomorrow morning at 8:30. And I know it's going to probably happen. They're going to say, Representative, we want you to apologize for saying this is a bunch of BS. I didn't use the word. I said BS. Okay? So they're going to calm me down. But then I'm going to say, I'm not apologizing for nothing. I will apologize when that deputy speaker goes up there and tells her she apologizes for going against the rules and procedures on, you know, not giving people the
Didn't
opportunity
ask
to vote.
for a second on the
No.
roll call.
How long did that
And
whole-
the roll call was not called,
How-
not for the anteroom.
How long did that process take?
Probably about a half hour
Okay.
through the whole thing,
To the-
wasted.
Yeah, but it is on film, I believe.
Right.
Right, now,
yeah.
when we did the second vote, then we were all in our seats by
Right.
then. We could hear the guards calling roll call, and some people clap. We're not supposed to clap in the
But you
House,
know
but a lot of
something?
people
Right.
clapped anyway.
I'm going to read something to you, what most people don't understand or don't know in New Hampshire. First of all, many kids that come to the State House don't even know New Hampshire has a constitution.
Right.
Okay? Now, Article 30, I think it's Part 2 here, freedom of speech. The freedom of deliberation, speech, and debate in either house of the legislature is so essential to the rights of the people that it cannot be the foundation of any action, complaint, or prosecution in any other court or place whatsoever. So what we say in the House, it cannot be held against us there and in court or for her to ask me.
And what you're
To
saying is if you have to go to the office, there's going to be the chilling effect.
That's right, it's going to be, because I'm going to break this out and say, no, Speaker, you're wrong. Here's the
Right.
Constitution.
You have a right to
I have a right to
voice.
speak my mind on behalf of my constituents that send me there.
And that's why you're on Speak Up today, and
That's
I really appreciate you coming on the show. Final thoughts, final things that are coming up. Obviously, this is a boondoggle, and it's being crammed down our throat, and people need to call their senators and make sure that this doesn't pass. It needs to see the light of day as far as people need to know what's in it before they vote on it from now on, anyway. What's coming up? other than this?
Oh, we have time to go?
Yeah.
There's the
Well,
marijuana bill that we've got. That's a very contentious bill.
Right.
The genetically modified organism labeling,
Oh, boy.
causing a mandate
We
that.
got some tough bills
yeah,
there that,
lot to
you
it.
know, one of them, the GMOs, right now, I don't think that's the right bill for our farmers and restaurants here in New Hampshire. You know, and more companies are doing it on their own.
They
putting their
are. I mean,
label.
I always look for non-GMO
Right.
foods, and they're labeled.
And
They're already labeled
do we-
non-GMO. If they're not labeled, then they probably do have
Right.
GMO in them.
You know what? I'll leave you with this final thought on that particular thing. You know, my wife, she does mammography, and it's not but every week that somebody is always, she's saying, oh, there was another one this week. She doesn't name names or anything like
Right.
that, but she says, oh, there was another one. Oh, there was another one. And I'm just kind of wondering, is it in the water? Is it in the food? I mean, where is all this coming
A lot of the
from?
food is full of chemicals. It's not even. On your way home, stop and buy a kid's meal and put it on the shelf. Don't eat it. Just put it on the shelf. Take it down a year later and look at it.
That's why
Looks the same. No self-respecting bacteria will eat it.
Right, and yeah, we seem to.
Right.
Well, on that note, you know, I noticed you had a Mark Levine book here.
Right. Well, you know how sometimes the state legislators get books in the mail?
Right.
This came in the mail today. I'm like, oh, I've heard of this book, and I know who Mark Levine is. So should I hold it up? It's
Yeah, Mark Levine, hopefully we can see that on the camera. Yeah, hopefully someday we'll get him on the show.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's Mark Levine. It's called Liberty,
amendments.
Liberty
Yeah.
Amendments.
Restoring their American. I look forward to reading it.
You should give the speaker that book.
She'll probably get one in the mail too.
Well, thank you very much for coming on Speak Up. All right, I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Kevin.
Okay.
We enjoyed it.
And hopefully you run against Senator Shaheen.
Well, I'll make my decision here within the next, before the month's over, I think, because everything's all about the money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whether I can get the funding or not in this short of a time span. She needs to go.
Yeah. Well, thank you for watching Speak Up. And this episode, we thank your representatives for being here. And they really are heroes because they're your voice. Call your senator and make sure that this Medicaid expansion doesn't pass here in New Hampshire. Until next week, thanks for watching Speak Up. Thank you for watching this episode of Speak Up. We also want to thank our sponsor, Center for Redress of Grievances, LLC. You can reach them at www.centerforredress.com. If you want more information about Speak Up or want to be a guest, you have something to say, contact us at speakupnh@gmail.com. And thanks for watching. Until next week. Every day, citizens around the country are faced with new dilemmas. Dilemmas that affect them profoundly. Whether it's injustice, discrimination, falling through the cracks, scandals and cronyism, balances of power, ethics, religious freedoms, state versus citizens, and unfunded mandates, and the list goes on and on and on. Welcome to Speak Up. It's directed at those who have fallen through the cracks, and it gives them a voice. It's your turn to speak up. To stand up and fight back.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.